a very interesting look by Newsweek and a great reporter, William Arkin, into the CIA and their actions inside of Ukraine. Let's go and put this up there on screen. The top line is that the CIA currently has about 100 personnel inside of Ukraine. Now, that might sound like a lot, but actually the crux of the article, Krystal, is, quote, the agency is as uncertain about Vladimir Zelensky's thinking and intentions as it is about Putin's. As the Russian leader faces his biggest challenge in the aftermath of the failed mutiny, the agency is straining to understand what the two sides will do because President Biden has determined that the United States will not undertake any actions that might threaten Russia itself or the survival of the Russian state. And what they point to specifically is, of course, it will be difficult for the CIA to figure out what Putin is going to do. But despite the fact that we have already learned via the, what were the Discord papers? Is that what we're calling them now?
I think so, yeah.
From the Discord papers that we were able to report to at least some of you here, you know, our intelligence agencies are spying on Zelensky literally by tapping his phone and others. And I think that Zelensky and his people are very aware of that and are taking several measures to make sure that the United States is obfuscated from some of their plans. Lots of reports previously, consternation from the Pentagon, Ukrainians hiding some of their plans about the counteroffensive, only briefing the military whenever they want something with their hand out, being like, please, please, give me more, give me more, give me more. And then beside that, though, hiding key details. And the US, the CIA, and others are actually faced with a problem where they are trying right now to get as much information out of Ukraine as possible and are having to resort to having to spy on them to a pretty historic degree for a so-called ally in this conflict.
There's also a lot of indication in this report from Newsweek that, you know, our intelligence agency knew pretty much right away what was going on with the Nord Stream pipeline. I mean, this is honestly, it's really humiliating because, number one, the fact that we don't know what the hell our supposed ally, who we're sending so much material to, that we don't even know what they're up to, that they don't read us in on their plans. I frankly can't blame them because we haven't apparently brought pressure to bear to get them to be upfront about those things. And because of, you know, some of the leaks that have come out, I can kind of understand their position on that. But it's humiliating for us. And we are supposed to have this kind of like agreement with them that, all right, we'll give you all this stuff, but you're not going to attack Russians on Russian soil. You're not going to engage in these sort of, you know, sabotage and going after Russian citizens on Russian soil. You're not going to do those sorts of things. And they've done it repeatedly, and we've just kind of accepted it. I mean, we've just taken it. So, of course, they've been emboldened to the point that they would send drones to strike the literal Kremlin in some sort of, you know, half-hearted Putin assassination attempt. So it underscores something that we've seen indications of from the beginning, which is in some ways, because we have such a long history of spying on Russia, we're able to get more inside of what they're thinking and what they're planning and, you know, what their posture is than with the Ukrainians who, you know, obviously are the ones on our side. So it's a pretty wild state of affairs, honestly.
I encourage people to go through and read this. William Arkin is a very stand-up journalist. I've followed him for quite a long time. And one of the important things, again, that actually comes through is both the level to which the Ukrainian military relies on the United States and the level to which they hide as much as possible from us. And then also, finally, how much our government lies to us consistently about this. I mean, with Nord Stream, there has not been a single indication yet from the obvious fact that they are almost very likely, certainly the people who blew up the pipeline. After calling it, you know, a terrible act of sabotage, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're like, well, maybe we shouldn't get to the bottom of it. For certainly, what comes through, really what comes through, though, is that we are running ops for them to a ridiculous and historic degree, you know, from the surveillance, from human intelligence against the Russians, providing them with the location of Russian generals so they could kill them and all of us, and flirting real close right up there to the line of direct combatant status. And at the very same time, though, we're being kept in the dark about what they actually want to do. And so obviously this is going to be very frustrating, I think, for a lot of people behind the scenes inside of the Pentagon and others. But because of the ideological capture that has happened within the elite, you are unable to issue any real criticism of the Ukrainians. And that's something that I think has shined through from private conversations, things that I've heard, and then also just bubbled up through the military. You know, every time we're like, hey, maybe you should reserve some of this ammo in Bakhmut because you're going to lose anyway, and you got to get this counteroffensive. And they're like, no, he knows what he's doing. And it's like, yeah, but it's our weapons. You know, maybe we're the ones you should listen a little bit to what we tell you to do, the greatest military in the world. And they're like, no, we know what we're doing. And now you're running low on ammo. We got to tap our cluster munitions. Consistently also, you know, in terms of their plans and other things, they really only tell us something whenever they want something from us. And, you know, in some way, I don't blame them. Like, if somebody was so stupid, they're willing to basically write me a blank check. Why keep them in the dark? But
Right.
in any ways, it's actually more of an indictment, I think, of our leadership and our approach that's going on with this conflict. And also, don't underestimate this. We don't know nearly as, you know, there's like an idea about the CIA and the intelligence community. They're all seeing, all knowing, and all these people. They gotten some things right. They got a lot of things wrong, you know, on this conflict. And this shows you why they get a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, and the other piece of this is the way that they use the CIA to get around the Biden administration's commitment that there will be no boots on the ground. Meanwhile, there's, you know, something like 100 CIA personnel on the ground. Apparently, that doesn't count. They don't wear boots, apparently.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's an open acknowledgement from Polish officials, which again, they've been the most hawkish in all of this, that the U.S. really doesn't understand the Ukrainian state and the, quote, reckless factions that exist there, says one Polish official on the anonymously. You also had a U.S. Defense Intelligence official saying, I hesitate to say the CIA has failed, but they said sabotage attacks and cross-border fighting created a whole new complication, and continuing Ukrainian sabotage, quote, could have disastrous consequences. So, you know, this is completely out of hand. We don't know what they're plotting. We know very well that they were behind these various attacks that they, you know, immediately lie about and deny, and that our own military establishment lies to the American people about and pretends that maybe it's Russia, well, or maybe we'll never know, or maybe it's better if we don't get to the bottom of it. So it's pretty stark to see the way that this war is actually being carried out and just how directly involved the CIA is on the ground and how much they have really failed in their job of understanding what the Ukrainians are planning, let alone what the Russians are planning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.